What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about how to tell if a guy is the one. Okay, you might be disappointed in this answer because I'm not sure if there's a way to tell if any person is the one, especially right off the bat. I think that we do ourselves a great disservice, especially women, juggling this idea that out of all the 7.8 billion people in the world, there's one person that's supposed to be for us. I think that Hollywood has done a number on the psyche of a lot of people who think that because that's what is presented to us, it must be true. There's not a one. There are a many. There are many people who are compatible with you. There are many people who have an intent to love, and there are many people who have the personalities, qualities, strengths and gifts and abilities, as well as certain sequences of flaws that complement who you are, right? Two people, when they fit and when they belong together, or when they are just compatible, long-term compatibility, when they have long-term compatibility, just have strengths and weaknesses that balance each other out, that don't clash, that are not adversarial to the health and progress and evolution of each other, right? So you can be madly in love with someone who's not the one, but convince yourself that they're a twin flame, that they're a soul tie, that they're the one. All of these lofty ass ideas that somebody who's unfit for you somehow or another is divinely fit for you. And that shit is just, it's not bullshit, but it should really be put in its proper box, in its proper place, okay? There are people who you will love to the ends of the earth who will never love you. Then there are other people who will love you until their last breath who you will never notice or never love them back, right? To a person who is in love madly and has a spiritual crush on somebody, it feels like that's the one. But if another person's divinity doesn't recognize your divinity, then how could you possibly be soulmates? Their soul and their spirit would be smart enough to recognize the pair, right? So don't do this to yourself where you think the one or soul ties or destiny, all of these things. Just go out, learn people, observe people, get to know people well enough and deeply enough that you figure out whether or not they have the qualities and the skill sets and the gifts and, again, the flaws that match up with your sequence of skills and qualities and gifts and flaws. You can love a person or learn to love a person who you previously had not even paid any attention to. You can love a person for being compatible and being great with you. A person who loves hard, a person who's committed, a person who's loyal, a person who has integrity, a man who has a lot of character, a man who has a sense of servitude and a sense of dedication, right? Can love a woman and present her a beautiful life. But if her soulmate is somebody who might have half of those skills, but he has some flaws that are not conducive to healthy relationships, is that guy that she has that connection with, who would destroy her because he has a tendency to be abusive or a tendency to dismiss her or a tendency to ignore her? Is he her soulmate simply because he ignores her, and this other guy isn't her soulmate because, well, he's not as exciting? Well, no. I think that we have to employ a little bit more logic and a little bit more psychological and spiritual intelligence in choosing our mates. I believe that somebody can be a soulmate, but I don't think that that is like the thing that ties people together. We see enough in divorce court that the idea of a soulmate has done a lot to misdirect a lot of people. It's not about necessarily being the one. It's being one of the many people in this world who can treat you well, who you can be madly in love with, who will serve you and who will accept your service and honor that service with an intent to serve back. And that's not about being the one. It's about being, again, a good enough person for a good enough person. I think for somebody to be a soulmate, they, again, from a spiritual place, have to recognize your value just as you recognize theirs. A lot of y'all think a guy's your soulmate, and he doesn't even believe in all of that stuff. A lot of y'all think a guy is your twin flame or or somehow or another divinely intended for you, and he has no spiritual base whatsoever. He looks at you and he'll have sex with you. He'll eat your food out your refrigerator, and then he'll go off and he'll do it to another woman. But because you want him so bad, you start to tie all these other, lofty ideas to him. These things haven't served the dating community well, to be quite honest. They just haven't. For the 4 or 5% of people who have found what they consider the soulmate, there are another 70% of people who have dated and dated and dated and dated and dated. I just wish we could get away from these ideas and start to qualify people based on who they are, what they represented, what they believed in, right? What they stood for, right? The qualities and skills that they present to our life and that they accept from us. These are much better ways and much better methods to find relationships. And I know I'm probably pissing a lot of people off right now, but if somebody's your soulmate, for me, it just means that they have the gifts, qualities, skills, abilities, and intents and characters and personality traits that match up with you and your flaws and your whole sequence and your whole package of what you are. Right? If a person's weak socially and they get with a person who's strong socially, it could balance them out. That's a decent enough match. If somebody who is trepidatious in the way they approach life and they get with somebody who's fearless and gung-ho about experiencing everything, that could balance them out. If you have a person who's loyal and a person who's disloyal, there's no balance there, right? So you have to really consider the pairs. Relationships are about making good pairs. The pairings that you choose a lot of times dictate the success of the relationship much more than these ideas of them either being the one or not the one. There are too many damn people in the world for there to just be one. That doesn't even make sense. In almost no other realm will we see 7.8 billion options and think, oh, there's only one right answer. That doesn't make any sense. There are plenty of right answers. Maybe there's a one in your town. There's a one in the next town over. There's a one next state over. There's a one in the next country over. There's a one in the next continent over. Maybe there are the 7. Maybe at least 7 continents. Maybe there are at least 7. But on each continent, if you can't find somebody that you are compatible with on at least one on each continent, then I don't know what's wrong. But again, it doesn't make any sense. The one. Pick a man who honors you, who respects you, who serves you, and who accepts your service and mirrors your service. Pick a man who has natural skills and abilities that pick your natural weaknesses up. Pick a man whose intent to love you matches your intent to love him. Pick a man who has the personality traits that give you the most fulfillment. If you like a calm life and you don't want a bunch of ruckus and you don't like a lot of drama, then go find you a man who has the same idea of peace being the king of your home. If you like a lot of excitement, you go find someone who likes a lot of excitement. If you have to get out a lot, you go find somebody who's adventurous. If you're a homebody, go find somebody who appreciates that a little bit, right? If you feel weak and you want to feel stronger, get around someone who evolves you through association with new experiences. If you can't cook, you should probably find a partner who can cook. If you're a conversationalist, find someone who can talk to you back. Find an intellect that matches your intellect. People with similar interests who also have an intent to love. There are thousands of combinations of people, and many of them work, many of them don't. But this idea that they are the one or not the one based on your emotional complex and your idea of this lofty idea that somehow or another they were predestined or pre-chosen doesn't always work out. I think that God has a lot in store for many of us, and I think that there are pairs that are presented in a divine way, but that's not to say that if that doesn't work out, God just stops dealing with you. I sent you one, it didn't work out, you'll never get another one, right? If God sent you one this year and that didn't work out, or you screwed it up because you wasn't ready, you wasn't evolved enough, you wasn't mature enough, guess what? Eventually, he'll send you another one if that's your fate, okay? But the idea that somehow or another, uh, you got one shot at love in 7-8 billion people. It's bullshit. So I would get away from that and just pick people who are more compatible with you, who you also love, and get along with. And that's just the bottom line of it. People who are together for 70 years, 60 years, 50 years, always cite their friendship and their ability to just get along, their ability to compromise with each other, right? Understanding that they have differences, they won't always agree, they won't always be happy, they won't always be fulfilled, they won't always be excited about each other, but they compromise and they serve each other. And so they always come back to each other because they're friends, they compromise, they're partners, and they're a team. Get you a person who's a teammate, a great teammate. That person could be the one, they could be one of 30. But get somebody you're compatible with who understands the value of a team and the friendship that a couple's supposed to have. Not necessarily because you're attached to them from this idea because they might be the one, or spiritually you're supposed to be with them. I think we've attached a lot of mental illness to our idea of relationships, quite honestly. Not saying that if you believe in the one that you're mentally ill, or you believe in twin flames, or you mentally, I think those things exist within reason. But there is a line that we've crossed in some of our minds, that those are the deciding factors, and it's just not. So anyway, I hope that helps. I don't know if it helps or it just pissed a bunch of people off who believe in that stuff. I just believe in multiple soulmates. That's how I roll. That's what I believe. Nobody is irreplaceable. Beyonce said it. Maybe that's what I should have lit. That's how I should have lit this video. Beyonce says, "Don't you ever for a second think you're irreplaceable." Maybe those aren't the words exactly, but I'm sure you agree with Beyonce, right? So take Beyonce's advice. Nobody's irreplaceable. That's all I got for now. If you want a consultation, go to girltalkwithguys.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do so at KevHick24. That's where I answer these questions. Thanks for watching. Share my videos if you think they're helpful. I'll get with y'all later.